Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I got a really cool question from a viewer, and it was for my Ask a Crafter segment, but I thought it was a little too complex to just answer with a verbal response. So Pam Hammerlund wrote to me. She said, I love to paint but cannot draw. Any ideas on how to get sketches projected onto paper so that I can trace something from a photo or drawing? I know there are some art books with tear out sketches that you can transfer with graphite paper, but do you have any other ideas? Well, Pam, you know what? I do. My first, the first idea I had was to use an inexpensive tracer. This is a Tracer Junior Projector by Artograph, and it's about $35, or it was back in the day when I got it. And I use this a lot for murals. I would like sketch something on like a 3x3 piece of paper and project it onto a wall. You'd have to have a pretty dark room to do this, but it, you know, it did the job for that. But then again, it's an investment, and you have to find it, and you know, you have to deal with that, and your drawing has to be smaller than 3.5 by 3.5, or you have to invest in a more expensive model that can handle a bigger drawing. So then I thought, well, how about using the old grid method? So if you're not familiar with this, what you do basically is you have a grid. You could either draw a grid directly on what you want to copy, or what I like to do is just get some printable transparency film from an office supply store and just print out a grid. I found this grid for free. It was at Incomtech.com. I'll put a link under the video so you can find that, but there's a way you can just type in how big of a grid you want, what color you want to print it on, and it's very easy. And then from that same website, I printed a 1-inch grid on a piece of copy paper for my example. But if you're using like canvas or watercolor paper, just use a ruler and draw a grid of squares, whatever size you want. The bigger the squares you draw here, the bigger your drawing will be. But you know, to keep it simple for the video, I just did it with my computer. And then what you want to do is lay the grid on top of your drawing, the plastic, and that's why I like making this out of transparency, because then you can reuse it for whatever drawing you want to transfer in the future. If you don't have a computer or transparency film, because it can be kind of pricey, you can just, next time you buy some pasta, just save the little plastic window that's in the front of the pasta box, and you can make your own just with a Sharpie and a ruler. Or, you know, the next time the kids get a toy, a lot of times there's like a big plastic window in the front of the packaging. Save that and make your own that way. That's totally fine. That will work just as well. Alright, so I've already started my drawing here. I got a phone call in the middle of my last video, so I actually have part of the drawing done, but I decided I would start it over. So what I did to begin was, I have a 6x9 grid, so I could see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I just crossed that out so I wouldn't be confused. And then, as you can see, I'm just on a regular piece of paper. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 grids high. So I counted off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'd only draw it if you're drawing this on canvas. You would just draw a 6 square by 9 square grid. You wouldn't, you know, I just crossed it off so I didn't lose track and get confused. And then to begin, I just counted nothing in that first square, so I went over to the next one, and I just had a little eensy-weensy bit of stuff right there in that corner, which I put right there. And then the next square, I just try to just, and it's very hard for me to do this, because I tend to draw like big, bold shapes and then refine it. So this is very contrary to how I work. So then I just, you know, looked at those shapes and tried to think of them as abstractly as possible, and I just say, okay, well, this line's coming in at about, you know, a quarter of the way up the line, up the square, and then I'm making a wiggly line like it shows with a bump here and a bump there, and I'm bringing it over. So you have to really look at this as very abstract shapes. So when you go to draw what's in that grid, just look at these abstract shapes instead of saying, I know I'm drawing a flower petal now, because then your brain hops in there and says, hey, I know what a flower petal looks like. Here, listen to me, I'll show you how to draw it. Instead of your eyeballs that are saying, wait a minute, I see squiggles, I'm going to draw these squiggles. You got to draw what you see and not what you think you see. So you give your brain vacation and you let your eyeballs do the work. And then you say, okay, well, I got this line coming in about halfway into this square, and it goes there, and it's kind of wiggly, and then I got another one that's kind of parallel with it, it's kind of wiggly. And you just keep doing that as you go along. I'm working on a padded surface, and it's kind of making me poke my pen through my paper here. It's not working so while my voice is hoarse. I went to the pool with some friends and our kids, and it was so loud in there that I have to talk so loud to be heard with my girlfriends. And of course, it's not like I can, you know, stop running my trap for, you know, a couple hours when my kids swim. So just like talking so loudly, I My voice is hoarse. So then, you know, I look over here and what's in this grid, and, you know, just drawing those wiggly shapes that I see. And when you're done, you're actually going to have a pretty accurate representation of what your picture was. So I would just keep going until I filled up all these squares that have things in. I could say, okay, there's nothing in that one. I'm going to go, that one would be this one here. There's nothing there. So what's in the grid down below it? Nothing in the top half. Okay, I could see a line starting over here about, you know, maybe a fifth of the way in. I'm going to draw that line there, and then it's got a little bump, and that little bump is a little more than halfway up. And, you know, just try not to take anything too literally. Try not to look at what you're drawing. It might help you to draw this upside down like I am, because then you can't really think about it too much if it's upside down. It helps confuse your brain a little bit. Not that my brain needs any help confusing. And then I'm like, okay, this diagonal line is going to go to almost this point here. So I'm going to put that line in like that. And you just keep on going, so on and so forth. And that's all there is to it. And then, you know, that's going to make that little rosebud there. So just practice this technique. It's cheap, it's easy, and it should work just fine for transferring any of your drawings. I'm going to let you go because I think someone's at my front door. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. And thank you. And as always, thumbs up and subscribe, and happy crafting!